Got another Varysian interview coming up. We've got Michael Sommer here. Michael is in the family business and has recently been to the awards and won the Best Cold Weather Technology for Hydromet Applications Award from the Varysian Awards. So well done, Michael, on winning the award. I hope you feel it's befitting of you. I was wondering if we could start by saying who you are, what you do, what your relationship is within the company, and move from there.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for the introduction. I am Michael Sommer. I'm one of two owners of Sommer Messtechnik in Austria. The company was founded 40 years ago by my father, Mr. Wolfram Sommer. And now since 2020, me and my brother Christoph took over the business, and so now we are the two sole owner of the company. Our company was founded 40 years ago by my father with the purpose of developing sensors and data logging systems more for industrial machines. Especially for machines that need very accurate temperature and humidity control systems. And with all this knowledge, he by chance actually participated in a hydrology tender in Austria and won the tender. So this ultimately set the direction for our company 40 years ago, more or less by accident. After developing the first data logger water level stations for hydrology, we very quickly saw there was a big demand for data transmission, data storage, so data logger, cloud software. Even in the 80s, we already developed online platforms to analyze and monitor data remotely. And then in the 90s, we started to venture into the field of what we call here cold climate technologies. So we started to develop sensors and measurement systems for snow, and then later also for ice. And in the 2000s, we then started for us a relatively new field, which was hydrology, and especially non-contact measurement of discharge in rivers. And so currently our company evolves all around water measurement, might it be frozen water or liquid water. And so the two biggest business units of our company is the measurement of rivers and streams and canals, as well as snow and ice. So, maybe our company has currently about 50 people here in Austria. And we operate offices in Malaysia, in Italy, and several in Austria as well. So we not only have just one office in Austria, we also operate the second office in Vienna.
What's the ethos? What's the philosophy behind Sommer? Why do you do what you do? What is it that you want to say to any potential clients that might be watching this? Who are you?
I mean, the easy answer would be we want to create a better world. But I think generally what we want to do, we want to build the best products and most high quality systems. And I think this is also what we're famous for since beginning of our company. We are a small company, we are a family business, and we want to differentiate ourselves from the big corporations. Yeah? So our focus is not necessarily making the most profits. Obviously, we need to make money to pay bills, but finally, we want to see happy customers and successful projects, because only then we will be successful in the future. So for us, it's more important that the customer will be happy than really doing a sales that might be very risky or where we know it will not work. Saying all this, we also try to provide excellent services in the way that we support our customers remotely or even on site if necessary. Basically all around the clock, as we have an office in Malaysia, in Europe, and a distributor network in more than 80 countries of the world. So we try to be close to our customers and deliver just this little bit of extra customer care, which I think got lost, not only in our industry, in many industries, in so many things. So we try to be there personally and, you know, talk to our customers what they need and learn from them. And this is only possible because we are, you know, we are two guys managing the company and not a big structure behind us that is just looking at shareholder numbers and pleasing other people. So for us, it's really all about the customer.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Do you not think that this is, you know, because the hydromet industry was born in modern times, sort of last 50 years or so, from family companies. You know,
100%.
this is a family business in many, or industry in many ways. And obviously some of the bigger competitors have come in the last few years. I'm not saying either way on any of these guys. But do you think that that ethos that you're talking about of making sure that the product and service is right, rather than maximizing or optimizing the top line, is something that comes from this philosophy of family businesses that were and have been a part of the industry for so long?
So you're 100% right. The hydromet industry is actually very young, of course, because we only somewhat record hydromet parameters 150 years, in some countries even less, of course. Yeah? And then the technology grew with the market. And I don't know, I mean, I'm only now 10 years in the industry, but what I learned from my father, that back in the day on these bigger exhibitions or conferences, you would have a lot of small, very innovative companies that would, you know, develop instruments that are really needed by the customer and fulfill, you know, very specialized niche markets. And so the industry was super innovative because it was family companies. It was, you know, owners who had a huge interest in being the best and, you know, showing their capabilities. Nowadays, if you look into the market is ruled by a couple of big corporations, and you know, as soon as you are, and not all of these corporations are owned by shareholders, but as soon as you have shareholders, your focus as a company is actually changing, because you not only have to please your end customers, you also have to please your shareholders, and your shareholders are only pleased if they receive, you know, the promised money and revenue. So you have to be creative, either to grow the company or to create enough profits. And I think that has changed not only the hydromet industry, many other industries, but I think in the hydromet industry you see a clear trend forming these big corporations. And in my opinion, a lot of the innovation died with them. So there is still, obviously, there's still innovation, there's still development. It's not real. The industry is not dead, but I think an industry with a lot of smaller companies, family-owned, you know, or like owner-owned, doesn't matter if a family is behind it, but is much more innovative than if they're just big corporations.
I think we hear your volition on that, and you know, speaking to a lot of people in the industry, a lot of companies, both big and small, I hear that coming across quite readily. I think there's a thing to be said both ways, but I hear your voice on it.
And you know, in not every time a company is sold or sells itself to a bigger corporation, the identity dies. But in many cases it does. Because in a lot of small companies, the owner gives a very, very clear structure in guiding about the strategy and all these kind of things, right? And so once the owner sells the company, this might be for several different reasons. It might be just for the money. It might be because there's nobody who can inherit the company. There could be many reasons. But once the company is sold, usually that culture gonna change. And this we can see, again, I not want to blame our industry. You can see with many companies. And for many companies, for some companies, this might be a good thing that culture changes. But for other companies, I think let's say this way, for the end user, it's usually or very often a worse outcome if a company is sold to a big corporation. At least this is my feeling, and also what I can feel from several of our suppliers or partners or whatever you want.
When you're there in your office and you've got 30 countries, national Met services or water authorities or environmental agencies that you're working with, they're really enjoying your products, working very well for them. At what point do you go, you know what, my customers need more, even though they don't necessarily need more because it's already working very well, but you are a company of innovation. You are a company that strives for excellence. So, what would you say to the public sector here that of why you still pursue more and more innovation when you don't necessarily have to?
But I think, so first of all, I would like to add that in an average year, it's a little bit up and down. We sell in more than 110 countries over. So we do cover the globe, I would say. So we really sell into really, really small and really, really big places. And obviously the relationship with different end users is different from place to place. Most of our business goes through distributors and also working with companies on the ground. It varies very differently from country to country, culture to culture, and so on. So it really depends on the market. But I think one of the most important things to understand is to be there with the customer. So usually our sales team and our engineers, they are flying on heavy rotation around the world. We try to be on conferences. We try to do workshops with different clients all around the world. And yeah, just listen to them, look how they use our product. We have this new internal system to analyze all the service requests, things like this. So there is a lot of things that go into the decision where the direction of the company for us has to go. If that makes sense. So it's very important to stay in contact with our distributors who install, service and manage the products for the end clients, as well as also hear it directly from the end clients without any filter or anybody in between. And then you have to set the focus because there are countries who use instruments in a very different way than other countries, right? So it always depends maybe on the technology standards, on the procedures, how they do hydrometry and measurements. And then as company, we need to focus for which direction we need to develop. So that's.
And where are your? I mean, I know that you've sold, as you were saying, in 110 countries. Where are your main markets? Is it Asia still? Asia was a big market for you, I remember.
Yes, it's well, Asia is also the biggest continent by population. So
yeah,
yes, but definitely Asia. North America was always strong for us, as well as Europe.
Is it still strong now?
Yes.
Yeah.
We do feel the political influence, but not only in the United States. You can see that markets are moving differently, but generally it's still strong. So we are not unhappy, but I think the current political situation creates a lot of uncertainty, which I think is the worst of everything else. It is okay if you go into a recession because it's plannable. It's okay if the economy is booming. But the uncertainty that we currently have, I think that's worst case scenario because nobody knows. It's kind of like a situation during COVID. Nobody knew what will be next. But now it feels different. I don't know. But let's hope for the best. And, sooner or later, the North American market will come back. Maybe even stronger because investments need to be done. So I'm very confident that the market will not, decline totally. I'm also very confident that the market will grow. So we are very confident in the North American market.
Yes, that's good. So one thing I wanted to ask you was in terms of sort of the cold climate technology that you have, what are the main USPs? What's the unique selling points there? Why? And this is not a competition thing. I'm not asking about that. I'm just literally asking about what is it that makes your product really good in that particular type of climate?
Yeah, great. I think we have to understand that cold climate technologies or measurements in hydromet for cold climates is a very limited market if you compare it, for example, to a temperature or a wind measurement, because temperature wind measurement we need to do all around the world. It doesn't matter the temperature, the climate conditions or whatever. But cold climate temperatures are only in a small part of the world. We're kind of lucky that the northern hemisphere, 60% of the northern hemisphere is in an area where we have cold winters and we have snow. And then in the southern hemisphere, the area is much smaller. So what makes our products unique? I think what makes our products unique is that the technology, the products all grew with our company. So the first, or let's say the second product line after data loggers we developed was snow measurement equipment. Might it be snow height and later also, snow water equivalent, snow melt sensors. It always grew with our company and with our markets. And I think this does not make us unique, but what is very clear is growing up in Austria, and most of our employees grew up here in the area. We all know snow from beginning of our life. A couple of months a year we have snow. It's cold, and so in a meeting we not need to discuss about different snow types and how snow feels and what are the challenges with snow, because we all know we live it every year. Now less than in the past. And of course, if we do testing with snow, we just need to step out of the door and we are in the mountains. So we have high altitude, medium altitude, low altitude test sites. And nowadays, when we come into the summer season, we have test sites on the south side of the planet. So we fly all the equipment to the south side, and then we have another season to test. So we actually test our snow equipment 2 seasons a year. And as we all know, you can test as much as you want. You have to deploy sensors in different climate zones. Even though cold climate, there are different cold climates. Yeah? If we talk about Japan or if we talk about Alaska, it's a very different way of cold climate. And this is for us very clear because we live in such a climate.
As you're saying, you do the testing and both in Austria and then Southern Hemisphere where there's going to be snow again. From concept of a product or an idea to execution of selling it and offering it to the market, how long does that take, Sommer? And what rigorous things do you need to go through to make sure that your product is going to be right?
Excellent question, because there is no definitive answer to this. So we have products that have been in R&D for 10, 15 years, and we know we never will make good on the money we have invested into R&D. But we still think it's a piece of a mosaic that we have to deliver to our customers. to be finally successful overall. So with especially cold climate, it is very difficult to do the testing. As we said in the past, we only tested here in Austria. And if you deploy a test station into the mountains, and then, for example, somebody forgot to connect the solar panel after 2 months or 1 month, the station will be dark, and you have to get a helicopter to fly up to connect the solar panel or 2 wires. It's just an example, or a fuse blows, or something else does not work. You need to go there. And worst case scenario, you need to go by helicopter. Of course, we try to decide our testing station where this is not necessary. We just want to emphasize on the difficulties. If we build again a temperature or a wind sensor, you could do a lot of simulations in-house in special climate rooms or wind tunnels and things like this. We do have a huge climate room, but it's not the same as in nature. So you can simulate as much snow and ice as you want. It's just not the same as out there. The sun shines on the product. You have many different influences in nature that you cannot really simulate. And because the snow and the cold climate, there's also not too much public knowledge and things like this. There's a lot of fundamental research, so pure physics that runs in the background. The development of cold climate sensors, especially snow and ice measurement, is much more challenging than, let's say, building a sensor to measure water level quality or something like this, because the testing, a lot of the testing can be done in-house, and then only the final stage will be outside, whereby for snow and ice, we have to do the fundamental research already outside, a lot of the fundamental research. So it's impossible to say from idea to sales. Some sensors take very long. Some sensors go quite quick.
I mean, this is both pertinent and highly relevant to the conversation that we've been having over the last half an hour, is that, it's not just about money. You've had a product in there for 10, 15 years that hasn't been released yet, but you want to release the product because the product's going to be right for the industry. I mean, that's fantastic. And I think that, everyone viewing this, especially if you are a client or a potential client of Sommer, that should be something which is recognized, because that really comes into the ethos and the philosophy of the company as well. It comes back to that idea of, wanting to help as many people as you can, whilst not trying to, form something where the profit is just, the only thing that matters. That's not where we're going with this. So, I think it's really important, actually, Michael, that you've spoken about that. And it's something that I think that, if you don't already do, that you should carry on doing, is speaking to people about the fact that R&D is just as important as profit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because everything we decide now that we will release in a few years, this is the future of our company. Only if we are innovative, we will be successful. And this is very important for us, and to be ahead, and that really deliver not only new technologies, but also technology that works. And that's why we have these multi-step testing procedures that we do with every single product. But with cold climate product, it's much more difficult. For example, development of a product will never stop. We will always try to improve on the product and bring an improved version, or just from season to season make small changes that make it either easier or more reliable. But for cold climate products, you usually only get the feedback after the winter season. So you get a long time, all summer, all winter, you get nothing. And suddenly you get all the feedback. Then you have to filter out which is the most important. Then you need to develop that next winter. It will be already ready. And so it's a totally different challenge in winter than with all our other products. We sell also a lot of different things, not only winter and cold climate. That's just one extreme.
Is it mainly software updating that you do on a year-by-year basis, or is it actual manufactured goods that you change?
We do everything in-house. That means we do the hardware design, the mechanical design, the electronic design, the firmware, the software, cloud software, everything is in-house. So there is no part that will be where we stop developing. It's a process. So it always goes on. And that decision we usually do solely on customer feedback that comes either through our service center or through direct communication with clients that say, oh, okay, if for the next generation, I would wish to have, I don't know, a ledge here or different color. I don't know. There could be many things to improve, right?
Yeah.
But it's a continuous process of getting better.
Are you enthralled about things? Are you still very upbeat about where everything is going, or is the general 21st century predicament causing you a bit of pain at the moment? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think we are in a unique position that our industry is actually on the spearhead of one of the most pressing and important topics of the 21st century, which is the climate. We do see climate change in every day of our life. Now people argue, is it man-made, is it not man-made? I say I really don't care at this point. It does change, the climate does change. And so it gets more and more important to collect data about our climate, because it will either make our life better, save life, and tell us a lot what's to come. And also, maybe to emphasize, if we don't collect data, reliable and accurate data from our climate or universe, we will never know what was the reality in the past. We all know these people who say, oh, when I was a child, we had much more snow. When I was a child, there was not so much rain, or there was much more rain. And these are all feelings and memories which can be very subjective. And so only with reliable data, we can really look back and see how our world has been in the past and how it is now and how it has changed. And this is data you cannot despite, like everybody who says there is no climate change, or the climate change is, is a natural process. We can really say, look, the last 100 years, it has changed so fast, and this is unprecedented. That the climate change, that's nothing new. Our planet is always changing, and it will still change when we all gone. But the rate of change is quite quick. And so I think we are in a very unique position with our industry. And this gives me a lot of hope for not only for our business, but also for our future. That there is more investment in our industry in the moment and also in the future. So I'm not worried. I actually look very positive in the future. We as a company, we are specialized on water measurement. I always like to say water is the new gold or the new oil. We already can see different conflicts all around the world that evolves only around water. There are places in the world where countries control areas and fight war about it just because of the water resources within these areas. Glaciers, snow-capped mountains, catchment areas. And I think it is present in the media if you look for it, but it's not as present as it should. I think here in Central Europe, we're very lucky in the moment, don't have this issue. But who knows, in 50 years, we also not have enough water. There was a few years ago, we had a summer in Austria where the Austrian military flew water by helicopter onto to the mountain farms because there was not enough water in the mountains. And it is just a start, you know. We don't know where the journey will go. And so I think a lot of people tell me, there is no need for measuring water in the future because there will be no water. But that's the point where you need to measure. You don't need to measure if you have enough. You need to measure if there's too much water flooding or if there's not enough water. And in many countries, for example, in China, 80% of all drinking water in China comes from snowmelt. So not only looking into rivers, you have to look in your snowpack, in your glaciers, and in your complete environment, because all of the snow falls from the sky, all the snow sitting in the mountains, it's all drinking water. This water can be used for hydropower, it can be used for agriculture, and many, many different other applications. And so it's not just measuring how much water is currently in the river, it's also how much water will melt in spring and comes down the mountain. And if you think about a lot of this spring flooding, it's actually crazy, but this flooding with drinking water, because you have rain and snowmelt coming together and floods whole valleys or areas. And it's just a pity that, you know, if we would run proper models and a lot of measurement stations, we could probably build constructions to collect water, prevent more and more floodings. Obviously, not all disasters can be prevented, but without data, no disaster can be prevented.
You've got a lot of insight into what's going on in the industry, both from the private sector perspective and the public sector perspective and political, and the effects that all three, you know, work with one another on. I think that what you're doing at Sommer is fantastic. I really, really like this idea of you know 10, 15 years of research, if necessary, to make sure that the product is right for, we call it the market, but for people really, ultimately. And I hope that this continues, because I think there's a place for all different types of companies in the industry, and that means that there's definitely a place for family. So I would, if it's worth anything, I would implore you to continue as you are, because it's a really good thing to be doing in an industry that needs to make sure that we keep some of that legacy. So with that, I bid you farewell. But it was great speaking with you, and thank you very much for an insightful, a cutting, a very clever 20 minutes or so. So thank you for that. And we'll no doubt speak again soon. Well done for winning. And I hope it does you well. And for now, auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you very much, Tom. It was a pleasure. And have a nice day altogether. See you. Bye.